So I want to talk about picking technique, right-hand picking technique using guitar picks. There are going to be like very general things that are going to be similar to using your fingers, like arm placement, but the actual technique of picking is going to be, of course, way different than using your fingers. So one of the first things I want to talk about is actually the picks that people use. I actually use a range of picks. The lightest picks, the thinnest picks, are going to be best for if you're doing a lot of strumming. You know, a lot of like open chords, folk chords, that type stuff. Because the lighter the pick is, the more pick noise you're going to get, the more string noise you're going to get, kind of that chatter sound. So, you know, it's good for that sort of thing. Anywhere where you're using big arm movements. So, you know, like all of the James Brown stuff too, which will sound funny on an acoustic guitar, but all that stuff. On the other hand, a medium pick, this one that I have is 60 or 0.60 millimeters. That's going to be the most versatile one. So I might use this, you know, if I'm going to be playing a song that uses a lot of chords, but also some single note lines, you know, on the other hand, the pick that'll give you the best sound for playing melodies and playing single note lines is going to be the thicker pick. I use one that is 1.5 millimeters, and that's going to give me a very dark, very warm sound. It really makes notes stand out because it's going to give you the strongest fundamental. You know, it's going to give you less of that chatter, less of the partials, less of the overtones, but it'll give you a note that'll really cut through. Now, as far as the actual technique, you probably noticed when I was strumming, it's a lot more arm motion. Really, it's going to be the same position where your shoulders are pretty back, you know, you're relaxed, back is straight, you know, arm is going to be about there. You know, if you're strumming, it's going to be more really from your elbow. And to an extent your wrist, but the lighter pick stuff is going to be bigger arm motions. On the other hand, if you're actually picking, you know, the total opposite extreme, if you're playing, you know, single note melodies and scales and such, there I'm almost exclusively using my index finger and my thumb. So for the thicker pick, the single note line type stuff, it's going to be the smaller muscles in your hand. Now, if you watch YouTube videos of, you know, of your 10 favorite guitarists, each one's going to have a totally different approach to picking. Some people, you know, some people are going to use more, you know, more index and thumb. Other people tend to twist their wrist a little bit more, and then you know there are the people who use almost exclusive sweep picking versus alternate picking. Sweep picking is where you pick all in one direction and then all in the other. So generally like all down and then all up. Versus alternate picking, which is you pick down and then you pick up and so on and so forth. That'll give you a different sound too. Other people, I kind of move around, which is probably a bad habit, and it's probably a result of having a ton of different guitar teachers trying to get me to do a ton of different things. But I will often ground my hand on the face of the guitar with the fingers that I'm not using, or I might ground my wrist on the bridge, which I really shouldn't do because then I'm collapsing my wrist. But basically doing either of those things gives me a reference point. So, you know, I've had teachers even that will sort of hook their fingers against the highest string unless they're on the highest string, and then they sort of drop down to the face of the guitar. Ultimately, again, the big picture concept is you want to be relaxed, you don't want anything tense. And so if it turns out that not having anything grounded and, you know, doing your strum stuff with just your wrist or something, if that's the most comfortable for you, then I would say go for it, as long as it feels okay, as long as it doesn't feel tight and tense. Your hand and arm position, it's going to be the same as if you were using your fingers to pick. You don't want your wrist to be collapsed in either direction, maybe a slight bend, again, this sort of angle, and I think that's about it. You know, you really just need to do a lot of practice, put a lot of time into picking. It's the hardest technique on guitar, far and away. So it's the most challenging, but those at least should give you the basics.